Hi there. I want to talk to you about why this is the best macro flash I've ever had and the best macro flash money can buy. And I'm always a bit dubious when I see things that say the best camera, the best lens. I think, how do you know if you tried them all? And I certainly haven't tried all the macro flashes. But the thing that makes this so great is the thing that this is the only one that does. And that's why I'm pretty confident to say that I think this is the best. So I'm going to share with you how I use it, some tips, but first off, the most important thing is about these articulating arms. So these move, and that allows you to position the flashes in lots of ways that you wouldn't get simply by mounting a flash gun on the top of your camera. And the first of those is uplighting. So I'm going to go and look for a situation where I can demonstrate some uplighting to you. So here's a situation where these articulating arms are particularly useful. Apologies if you can hear any water sound. I'm on a bridge and there's some water flowing underneath me, so there's not a lot I can do about that. But on the bridge, this guardrail has got a little spider just hanging off underneath it. Now, the spider isn't getting any natural light because it's hanging underneath this rail. And so what I can do is use these articulating arms to my advantage. So I want to light up the spider's eyes, so I'm going to bring one of them to the front and front light it. But what I'm going to do with the other one is drop it underneath the lens to uplight it. So I should be able to get some light coming up to the spider and illuminate all of those hairs. I'm also going to bring that focusing light to the front and position it so that I can focus on the spider's eyes. There we go. So let's do this. I'm at 1/8 power and 125th of a second shutter speed. So I'm just going to need to bring that back a little bit. I'm just going to rock backwards and forwards. Hold it steady. Let's have a look at that. Oh, we've got something that's been caught in a spider's web. I think it's a wasp, and it's wrapped it up in silk, but the spider's not around. So I'm going to take a photo of this. Let's get set up. I'm going to use one of the flashes for side lighting and the other one for a bit of front lighting. Need to get a bit closer. There we go. So you've seen how these arms can be positioned in different ways, and that can give you lots of different lighting options. So you can position them at the side and get some side lighting, from above, face on and get front lighting. You can even reach them around, you'll probably hear them creaking as I move them, and get backlit. Now, you can't do any of that with fixed macro flashes, so either a speed light fixed to your hot shoe or those twin macro flashes that sit at the end of your lens. All you can do with any of those options is front lighting. And in the previous example where you saw me uplighting something, you definitely wouldn't be able to do that at all with a speed light because it's always on top of your camera. The only option you would really have is to turn your camera upside down, which makes it kind of tricky to use because ergonomically cameras aren't designed to do that. You might be able to do some clever things with off-camera macros. If you've got remote receivers and things like that, you could set things up. That's quite a bit of a faff. This just sits here and I can quickly position them in any way that I want. So a couple of other really useful features. It's got this focusing light, because typically when you're using flash, you want to underexpose your subject to let the flash bring the light and the colour out in them. And what we use this focusing light for is just to give it that little bit extra light to be allowed to manually focus so that you can see all the details as you're manually focusing. And so you can increase the intensity. So it's got a little button at the back that you can press to increase or decrease the intensity of that focusing light. And the light that comes out of the two flashes can be set independently. So you've got everywhere between full power and 128th power, and each flash can be set separately from the other. So there are two separate sets of buttons to increase or decrease the power to each of the two arms. So I've got a fairly big spider here in a web. Unfortunately, it's got its back to me. I would love it if it was on this side of the web so I could get its eyes, but the back of it still might make, or the underside of it still might make an interesting photo. So what I'm going to do is position one of the lights to this side and set it at 1/8 power. And I'm going to bring the other one and have it on the opposite side, but I'm just going to use 1/64th power for that one. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want this light to light up and freeze the subject, and I want this light just to fill in some of the shadows that the first light creates, which is again something you can't do with a single speed light. So I'm going to be very careful and try not to touch its web. I don't want to disturb it. Oh, that's looking good. There we go. So this is an entirely manual flash. So there's no TTL or through the lens, which is where your camera tells the flash how to operate based on your camera's assessment of the exposure. So you have to set the power of each of the flashes yourself. So I wouldn't recommend this for a brand new macro photographer. If you're new, get a simple speed light or something like that and just get used to manually focusing to start with and using TTL to freeze the action. And that's the reason that we use flashes. So if you're interested, or if you're thinking, why is he talking about flashes to do with macro? It's about getting sharpness and detail in your macro photos, because the flash freezes the action so that you don't need to use a really high shutter speed. Now, I've made a video all about that before. It's called Sharpness and Detail in Macro. So you can take a look at that. I'll link it above and in the description below. But this, for me, is as manual as photography gets. So I manually expose, like most macro photographers, I manually focus. And with this, I have manual flash, so it doesn't get more manual than this. So if you're a little bit more of an experienced macro photographer, this could be really useful for you. And whilst it would be nice to have TTL with this flash, it would probably be quite difficult to do, because any power setting with the flash as close to the subject as this one is here will be very different from the same power setting with the flash as far away as this one is. So it's very difficult for a manufacturer to build something like that without putting in a load of sensors, which would make it incredibly expensive. So there are quite a few bees and wasps buzzing around this bush, so I'm just going to keep firing off shots, but let me tell you a little bit more about some things. So this takes 4 AA batteries, and the advertised recycling time for those is 2 to 5 seconds. But I found that using these Energizer recyclable batteries, I get a much faster recycle time. And if you don't know, the recycle time is how quickly you can use the flash again after you've last used it. But using these Energizer ones, they give me a little bit better performance. And I found that I can fire off about 6 shots just hammering the shutter really quickly, and it doesn't have to pause to recycle. And if I take things a lot steadier and leave about a second between each press of the shutter, I don't think I've ever reached a point where it's had to stop to recycle, so that's really good. And just a quick note on the diffusers. If you've seen my videos where I've used this flash before, you'll have seen that I had some diffusers on here. But I found some diffusers that were actually designed specifically for this flash. I bought them from a website called UK Digital, and it's got these diffusers which have 2 options to fit them. There's a little bit of Velcro around them, and there's an elastic band, but I just use both because, you know, better safe than sorry. So I bought this twin macro flash in early 2019, so I've had it about 3.5 years, and I have to say it works as good as the day I bought it. The only problem that I've had was caused by me being an idiot. So a couple of months back, I was packing away and I put this on the roof of my car, and whilst I was packing up, it slipped off the roof and hit the ground. Now, it caused a little crack to the casing, but I put some Gorilla Tape over it and it's held really strong ever since, but at some point I'm probably going to have to replace that. But I think that speaks to the quality of this product. And when it first came out, there were a few reviews on YouTube that speculated that these articulating arms might be weak, and if you bend them too much, it might snap the wires within them. Well, let me tell you, in the last 3.5 years, I've kept this rolled up when I'm not using it in a really tiny package, packed in one of my camera bags, and I've never had a problem with it. So I think the manufacturers have built enough slack into the wires that flow through those articulating arms to make sure that nothing can snap even when you roll it up. The other great thing about it is the price. So in the UK, this retails for £280, and that is substantially cheaper than any of the macro flashes that are made by the manufacturers, or even some of the high quality third-party ones. So I know, for example, that the Nikon twin macro flash is really highly rated, but that costs £750 to this 280. And that Nikon one, and any of the other manufacturer ones, don't have the level of flexibility that this does because they are lens-mounted macro flashes. Now, if you're interested in spicing up your macro photography and doing something a little bit more creative, I've got a playlist of creative macro photography videos, which you can check out here. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.